guests. It's a great honor and pleasure to welcome you all to this session dedicated to one of the most decisive and enduring elements of warfare, logistics. Throughout history, logistics has often determined not only the success of military operations, but also the endurance and resilience of nations. As we have witnessed in conflicts such as the Russia-Ukraine war, the Afghanistan campaign, and the Second Nagorno-Karabakh war, the logistic is no longer just a support component. It has become a strategic determinant shaping both battlefield dynamics and national defense strategies. In these sessions, our distinguished speakers will present valuable analysis and case studies that will help us better understand the evolving nature of logistics in the 21st century, conflicts from sustainability and resource management to energy security and the munition control. Before we begin the presentation, let me kindly remind all our presenters that each presentation is scheduled for approximately 15 minutes. I would appreciate your attention to timing so that we may reserve a few minutes for discussion and question at the end of the session. Now, let us begin our presentations. Our first speaker is Associate Professor Bülent Durgun from Istanbul Arel University, who will present on logistics in modern warfare lessons from the Russia-Ukraine war. Following that, we will continue with our second presentation titled Logistic Lessons from 21st Century Wars, Sustainable Logistics, and the example of the Afghanistan war, to be delivered by Assistant Professor Ahmet İlbaş and Assistant Professor Hakan Kaya, both from Istanbul Arel University. Finally, we will conclude the session with a joint presentation by Associate Professor Rahmat Hajimine of Islamic Azad University, Tehran, and Mr. Ebrahim Rezai Raad, PhD student at Azad University, Tehran, who will discuss lessons from 21st century wars with a focus on energy, case studies from Ukraine and the Second Nagorno-Karabakh war. After the final presentation, we will have time for question and open discussion. Once again, I thank all our presenters for their valuable contributions and all participants for joining us. I am confident that this session will provide meaningful insight and stimulate further thought on how logistics continues to shape modern warfare. Now, I invite Associate Professor Bülent Durgun to begin the first presentation. Professor Durgun, floor is yours, please.
Mr. President and Sir, thank you for your permission for presenting. I want to share my presentation with you. Right here. Could you follow my presentation, sir?
Yes, we have seen.
Right. Thank you for feedback. Right. Right. Distinguished generals, esteemed colleagues, and respected participants, I would like to say good morning to you all. It is a great honor for me to address this distinguished audience at the Second International War and Peace Congress. And I extend my sincere respect all to who served and contributed to the nation's defense and strategy in advance. And this research examines how logistical performance, adaptability, and industrial resilience have shaped operational outcomes in the largest European conflict on the 21st century. In modern warfare, logistics is not a secondary support activity. It is the determinant of strategical success or failure. So this is me, c'est moi. I'm already holding the post of Associate Professor in International Relations Department of Ariel University. Meanwhile, currently, I am the director of vocational school and director of USAM currently, right? So, I just want to start with the quote from Machiavelli, who says, "Wars begin when you will, but they do not end when you please," which means that the Ukrainian war right now has turned to attrition, and we cannot predict when it cannot end, right? So that quote sets the tone. Machiavelli's words resonate profoundly in Ukraine. The war begins with strategic intention, but has been sustained or stalled by logistics. The war in Ukraine has become a contest of endurance that is corresponding to attrition, actually. And logistics, not tactics alone, defines how long each side can sustain operations and at what cost. Logistics has become the true center of the gravity of the modern warfare. The operational tempo, casualty ratio, and even diplomacy are ultimately functions of each side's ability to produce, move, and sustain material. On my research, that treats logistics as the decisive variable in the Russian-Ukrainian war's endurance and its geopolitical consequences. The ongoing Russia-Ukrainian war has reminded us that it is like to the experience large-scale conventional warfare on the old European continent that is validating the ancient adage that says the line between disorder and order lies in logistics. So that's why actually I picked this topic. You know, the conventional world, like in the old way, European continent, this is the first time that they are encountering that scale conventional war. So it is unpredictable for somebody who didn't join such a scale warfare. And this is actually a good example for us what can happen in a large-scale conventional war. That's why I intentionally picked Ukrainian and Russian war. So attrition is defined by logistics capacity. Right. As we know, traditionally, logistics has divided into strategic, operational, and tactical echelons. But this is traditional. But in the Ukrainian war, that became blue. It is not distinct clearly between each other. So this distinctions lost its borders, right? So supply, repair, and intelligence cycles now occur in real time, and they are transpassing each other. And hybrid sustainment also important, where civilian networks, volunteers, digital tools complement military supply, has become a defining innovation of the 21st century warfare. Right. My research employs on open source resource intelligence. Right. There is no secret information on my research. and NATO and RAND data and supplementary assessment. And I tried to compare, contrast Russian understanding of logistics with Ukrainians' decentralized hybrid logistics. I also tried to integrate quantitative data, production rates, but I'm not going to suffocate you here with the numbers, right? I just want to go with the summarized derivations. So production rates, ammunition expenditures, and supply chain choke points, they are summarized in operational sustainment tables. And with Russian logistic doctrine, Russia's system inherited a Soviet logistics of centralized control and mass supply. It presumed a short, decisive campaign supported by rail networks and secure rear area. And when the war proved prolonged and mobile, the Russian structure collapsed. That is demonstrating or illustrating how doctrine can become a logistical liability, which means danger, risk. Right. So Russian failure in practice is that we have witnessed the 40-mile convoy outside Kiev. That is a good depiction we see on the picture here on presentation slide. So the stalled convoy north of Kiev became a visual metaphor for logistical failure. Convoys halted, not from the combat, but from missing fuel and broke vehicles. The Russian centralized MTO that is governing the logistics in Moscow reacted after shortages occurred. Instead, which they should have, anticipate in advance earlier. And lack of trained technicians and inadequate protection of supply lines turned logistics into Russia's greatest vulnerability. On the other side, or the comparison concerns, Ukrainian adaptability was its advantage. Ukrainian built a decentralized, crowdsourced logistics system. Civilian volunteer networks delivered drones, optics, and medical kits directly to the front. This agile model enabled continuous adaptation under fire and offset Russia's numerical superiority. You know, Russia's main doctrine is numerical superiority, which they employed during the Second World War, which is obsolete right now. That exemplifies resilience through flexibility, which is logistics is mainly, you know, defining. So that's the lesson of modern military. Right. The key thing here is one of the things is that Western aid and interoperability. So Western assistance transformed Ukrainian sustainment pattern. However, integrating Leopard tanks, M777s, and HIMARS with Soviet legacy tanks created a logistics rainbow. Seems like a good word, rainbow, but it is very difficult to sustain such varied materials in the battlefield. You know, ammunition and the weapon systems may not match each other, and it creates difficulty in the battlefield. And different ammunition types and maintenance standards makes it much more complicated to sustain. Yet HIMARS, however, allowed Ukraine to strike Russian depot, proving that logistics itself can be the target and a weapon. And as I have stated at the beginning of my presentation, I mentioned that sustainable data. I will go on briefly with the reference onto the operational data. Russia increased its artillery and drone production under sanctions, right? Ukraine, despite industrial damage, expanded repair and drone output while relying mainly on Western munition. Daily ammunition expenditures reached unsustainable levels, forcing rationing. So they had to limit daily usage of the ammunition for both sides, right? And both sides faced choke points in semiconductors, explosives, and energy resilience. That is the true limits of attrition warfare. Another domain that we have to focus is that the cyber and information dimensions. The cyber domain has become inseparable from logistics, which has the consequence on attacks on rail networks, communications, and databases, delayed deliveries, and exposed vulnerabilities. Simultaneously, open source tracking, which we had uh, witnessed via YouTube. We were able to follow both sides, belligerent um, convoys moving from one side to the other side. And that is open source tracking, civilians monitoring convoys online, which made the secrecy nearly impossible. So cyber defense is now as essential as fuel or ammunition in sustainment planning. So what to expect for the future? Future conflicts will raise the notion of the safe rear. No more safe haven we have on the back. Sustainments must be dispersed, mobile, and predictive. So we cannot wait until the units demand for logistics requirements. AI can forecast demand, schedule repairs, and optimize routes in real time. Predictive logistics represents the transformation from reaching to anticipating, the hallmark of the next generation sustainment. So, what is my proposal? My suggestion for the framework is that from the lessons of Ukraine, I propose 3D framework that is D for dispersion to reduce vulnerability, and the second D for decentralization to empower field sustainment, and digitalization to connect every node through data. And with this suggestion, which can be arguable, this model may balance efficiency with survivability, essential for industrial scale, high attrition world. Okay, what could be the strategical implications for that? So the war teaches us that industrial output equals combat capability. That is my hypothesis that I started in advance of my research, that sustainment is now grand strategical concern involving alliances, sanctions, and energy flows. For NATO and regional powers, integration of industrial policy and defense planning is no longer optional. It is survival logic. Okay, as the end state, Russia In the Russian case, that illustrates to us the outdated logistical doctrine can nullify the battlefield strength. However, it is very strengthful, like a bear. Ukraine demonstrates how adaptability and flexibility, civilian integration, and innovation can sustain national defense. And the central insight is clear. My end state is that logistics is not behind strategy. It is the strategy itself. Right, I would like to express my gratitude to all, goes to the organizers of this Congress, Professor Bingöl and his colleagues, and to my institution, Istanbul Aral University, for supporting this research. And again, I would like to thank you all for your attention. And I am now looking forward to your questions and discussions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Professor Durgun. Really excellent presentation you have provided. And also we have learned that the lessons learned from the Russia-Ukraine war, we are going to conclude in one sentences. Logistical war in the logistical domain can serve as a critical experience for future conflicts. Keywords, Russia, the others. You know, if we are going to click on this one for your presentation, we can reach excellent actual summary. Thank you so much for your excellent presentation. I think at the end of this session, we are going to collect the actual questions, and also you can provide your answers. Thank you so much.
Please, sir.
Thank you. And now we are going to move to second presentation. We will continue with our second presentation titled Logistic Lessons from 21st Century Wars, Sustainable Logistics and the Example of the Afghanistan War, to be delivered by Assistant Professor Ahmet İlbaş and Assistant Professor Hakan Kaya. I think Hakan Kaya is going to provide the presentation. Floor is yours, Hakan Kaya, please.
Dear Professor, thank you very much. I'm going to share my presentation. I hope you can see my presentation. Dear Professor, can you see my presentation? I can hear you.
Yes, the presentation is on screen.
On screen, please
Okay.
move on.
Okay, thank you very much. My presentation is about the logistic lesson from the 21st century wars, sustainable logistic. This is the case of the Afghanistan war. And the Afghanistan war is one of the most significant military conflicts of the 21st century. The war's duration, geographic challenges, and operational scope clearly highlighted the critical role logistics played. These are the key dynamics complicating logistics in Afghanistan war. The key dynamics in the left side dynamic, long duration, challenging geography, and dispersed bases. On the right side, impact on logistics, stock management, and supply chain sustainability, increased transport cost and times, need for multi-channel supply. Afghanistan mountains terrain, deserts, and inland regions made transportation and logistical nightmare. The long duration of the war and scattered military bases made traditional logistic methods inadequate. The geographic challenges and sustainable solutions, Here is the challenge and the sustainable logistic solution. In this context, the application of sustainable logistic strategies become a critical success of military operations. The challenge: mountains, terrain, deserts, and dust. The sustainable logistic solution for the mountains, terrain, air supply, use of local resources. The deserts and dust, specialist vehicle maintenance, filtration systems. The and landlocked country, multimodal supply chain. Afghanistan mountains and deserts, the flexibility and use of the local resource played a critical role in maintaining a sustainable and uninterrupted supply chain. The remote bases in Afghanistan made the security and continuity of the supply lines difficult. In response, reducing environmental impacts, using resource efficiently, and involving local labor is essential. Due to the disruption in long-distance supplies, the use of local resources became essential. In Afghanistan, local producers were utilized for the construction materials, food, and water. Contracts with the local suppliers reduced the transportation cost and helped decrease the carbon footprint. When one supply line was disrupted, the risk of the operational failure increased. Therefore, multi-channel supply chain strategy were used. Simultaneous use of sea, air, and road transportation ensured the continuity of the logistics and created backup plans for sudden disruption in supply chains. Sustainable logistics in Afghanistan also involved efficient waste management and recycling practice. Military bases generated a large amounts of the waste, including plastics and metals, which posed environment and health risk. Collaboration with local communities helped recycle and purpose waste materials. Strict monitoring of the recyclable materials and reuse protocols ensured that not only environmental impacts were minimized, but also logistic costs were reduced. For example, unused ammunition boxes and packaging materials were reused, recycled. Health and moral logistics. Maintaining high morale among soldiers was critical for the sustainable of military operations. In addition to material supply chains, maintaining soldiers' physical and psychological well-being was essential for the success of operations. In conflict zones, ensuring the sustainability of the health service was a key logistic process. Mobile health units and local hospitals were continuously supplied to meet the soldiers' medical needs. And water conservation. Water conservation measures were critical in sustaining operations. Water-saving equipment and rainwater harvesting systems were introduced. This approach reduced the need for long-distance water transport. Afghanistan's military logistics also had to take local communities into account. Humanitarian and aid distributions and maintaining good relations with the local population were essential for the success of logistic operations. Conclusion of our case: the flexibility is vital. Multi-channel supply chains are essential. Local is powerful. Using local resources reduce the cost and carbon footprint. Sustainable is a strategic imperative. Energy diversity and waste management enhance operational resilience. The lesson learned from this conflict offer important insights for the future military logistics, emphasizing the need for sustainability in logistics operation. Thank you very much for your attention. This is the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Assistant Professor Hakan Kaya. This is excellent presentation, really. We have seen what were the difficulties in Afghanistan terrains area, and also it was really very difficult logistic supports was there. Now we can move to final presentations. We will conclude the session with a joint presentation by Associate Professor Rahmet Hajimineh of Islamic Azad University, Tehran, and Mr. Ibrahim Rezai Raad, PhD student at Azad University, Tehran, who will discuss lessons from 21st century wars with a focus on energy case studies from Ukraine and the Second Nagorno-Karabakh War. I hope Mr. Associate Professor Rahmat is online. I hope.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Erdogan.
Thank you so much. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and also other professor from Turkey. Nice to be here, and thank our university for providing this opportunity. As I really before got the title, it was very interesting and very useful, especially for the future, to really work and see future based on the past, especially based on this title about war. As the other professor also mentioned, I know we have a very interesting and really applicable theory in international relation, historical sociology, that really see history and building state based on war. And war in historical sociology has a great role in shaping really political system throughout the world. But in our article, as dear professor read it, our title is Lessons from 21st Century War with a focus on energy, case study the Ukraine and the Second Nagorno-Karabakh War, which is really written as I have a co-author, Ibrahim Rezai Raad, that really has an experience to being in our university the last year. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, Professor Rahmat, are you going to share any slide?
Really, it's. I think I have problem with that. If but we send it before to university, it is possible for them to really upload the the text. I really thank you them, because I send it before to conference organizer. It can be uploaded by them or not.
Mr. Yilmaz, do we have any slides forwarded by the Professor Rahmat?
I am uploading, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Actually, you can move on, Professor Rahmat.
Thank you, Professor. Yeah, as I said, that's very interesting. But we focused on the role of energy in the wars, especially about two wars, Ukraine and the Second Nagorno-Karabakh. For the sake of really presentation, I divide my presentation into four-part: introduction, main body, and also some table and conclusion. In introduction, the 21st century has witnessed a series of wars deeply connected to energy politics and power competition. Energy politics is very important really in 21st century, not only for exporting but importing country, and also in terms of corridors which are really very important and play a great role in shaping geopolitics. Also, conflicts such as the Ukraine war and Second Nagorno-Karabakh war reveal how energy resources shape strategic decision and military action in an area where energy security equals national security. The state increasingly use force to protect or expand access to vital energy routes. This war, these two wars, demonstrate that control over pipeline, transit corridor, and resource-rich region can determine geopolitical dominance. By examining these two case studies, we can better understand how energy competition fuel conflict and reshape international relations and also regional structure. Ultimately, the lesson from this war highlight the growing importance of energy in global security and enduring struggle for power in the modern world. Our main question here is that what role has energy played in the wars of 21st century, particularly in Ukraine and Nagorno-Karabakh? And our main hypothesis is that based on the premise that increased revenue from oil and natural gas sale have boosted military budget and combat capability of countries, leading to a tendency toward aggressive approach to achieve foreign policy goal rather than peaceful or negotiation methods. Our method in this article is mixed method approach, quantitative and qualitative, and our theoretical framework of offensive realism. There are some main and key point of offensive realism. Offensive realism is a theory from John Mearsheimer explaining how a state behave in an anarchic international system. The world lack a central authority, so a state must depend on themselves for survival. Because of this anarchy, state constantly fear threats from others, and to stay secure, state try to gain as much power as possible, especially military power. The ultimate goal for great power and other power right now is to become the dominant power in their region. Cooperation between states is temporary and fragile because mistrust and competition always remain. From an offensive realist view, both wars show a state acting to maximize power and secure vital energy and strategic interest in an anarchic international system. In the Ukraine war, Russia sought to expand its influence and control over key energy routes and resources, aiming to strengthen its regional dominance. And also, as before I said, energy revenue really helped Russia to be more powerful. Ukraine's resistance and Western support reflect efforts to balance Russia's growing power and prevent regional hegemony. In the Second Nagorno-Karabakh War, Azerbaijan used its energy wealth and military build-up to reclaim territory and boost regional status. This conflict revealed that energy resources are both tool and target in power struggling among states seeking greater security. The main lesson from offensive realism is that state will use force and energy leverage to increase power as cooperation is secondary to survival and dominance. And also we have really some table here to show the geopolitical structure and the role of corridor from also South Caucasus and also Ukraine and Russia. First one, second one, third one, and that one. And after that, about Russia crude oil production. Budget, Russian national defense budget, that energy has really very important role in Russian military budget also, and in military expenditure, and in Azerbaijan crude oil export from 1990 to 2023 in the charts. Yeah. And Azerbaijan military expenditure based on exporting energy. So, in conclusion, that energy revenue have been a driving force in this article, driving force behind the policy of Russian and Azerbaijan. Oil and natural gas income have directly strengthened military capability, enable both states to pursue warfare for strategy and territorial gains. Europe's dependence on Russian energy highlight how energy can function as a powerful geopolitical weapon in modern conflict. This case proved that energy wells without proper international regulation can increase instability and fuel armed confrontation. And the last sentence, global effort must focus on creating mechanisms to manage energy geopolitical influence and prevent future conflict driven by energy power. But in other, I think, conflict, not all, only these two cases, energy has great role. Maybe it is not obvious, but in a secret plan, have a great role for the future, maybe transition route or corridor on other part, because based on theories regarding energy, like energy geopolitics, security, energy security, energy really has a very important role in shaping war, and maybe its role not be obvious, but have not a covered role in shaping the war. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation, and also repeat my thanks to our university and conference organization. And thank you, Professor Erdogan, for taking this meeting.
Thank you so much, Associate Professor Rahmat. You have delivered excellent presentation. Thank you, really. Now we have at the end of the session. Now, if there is anybody, any question, please to forward our speakers. Is there anybody, any question?
Of the conference of giving me this opportunity to present. I tried to present in the last session, but I had technical difficulties. Hopefully it won't happen again. My name is Farzan Safari Sobet. I'm a PhD candidate of World Studies, focusing on the Indian subcontinent at the Faculty of World Studies at the University of Tehran. My title is Weaponization of Fake News, Battle of Narratives, War Medias, and Media Wars in the Case of the 2025 Indo-Pakistani Tensions. There's a famous saying that says, history is written by conquerors, that is attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte. The 2025 Indo-Pakistani crisis marked a significant escalation not only in military terms, but also in the weaponization of information, reflecting broader trends in hybrid warfare. In the wake of April 22nd and Pahalgam attack, which resulted in deaths of 26 civilians, both India and Pakistan engaged in escalatory military and diplomatic actions, including the suspensions of the Indus water treaties and the initiation of Operation Sindoor by India, which also reflected how fake news and propaganda, which was created by AI, was weaponized both by media and also by military structures in both countries. The research that I will hopefully write as an article in the Congress book is, the question is that how fake news was strategically employed as a tool for psychological and informational warfare to construct, manipulate, and propagate narratives of military success, national victimhood, and adversarial aggression, which how, AI can be used as a tool to portray, to create narratives for victory and also defeat. The methodology that I use is mostly qualitative, of content analysis of televised broadcasts, official government statements, and social media discourses, which were used from April to June. My study also identifies key patterns in the use of disinformation and misinformation of media actors. There's also a particular focus which is placed on how narrative dominates public sentiment or international perception, and how policy responses during the crisis. My main argument posits that in contemporary conflicts, control over narrative construction via media manipulation increasingly serves as a decisive front in warfare. In the literature that I've compiled, I will not try to take most of it. I will not try to take too much time for of the panel. There was an interesting article by Nasir and Bahadur in 2025. Is how also Pakistan and India use propaganda and war narratives, and how diaspora plays a part in trying to frame narratives of either war or peace during the conflict. There's also the use of black propaganda, which is also refers to social media campaigns, and how AI is also affecting these social media campaigns. We also see that this is also being used as a tool in other conflicts, such as Russia, Ukraine, and also the recent Israel-Palestine and also Iran-Israel conflicts. What media narratives, use AI is to create a narrative supremacy through deep fakes, visual content, and also how it plays into the part of hybrid warfare is that in a traditional sense, it's not that soldiers who are fighting each other, it's also medias that are also fighting each other, and how citizens are playing a role in this media warfare. When we look at the geopolitical landscape of South Asia, we see that India in recent years has arisen as an economic player. It is now the 4th largest economy in the world. It also has a lot of global connections with both the US, Russia, and China. And on the other hand, Pakistan also has relations with China and other countries. But we see that when these two countries come together, there's also a lot of geopolitical factors that are at play. In terms of media narratives, I tried sending a PowerPoint, but because there were several pictures that I wanted to use in the presentation, but I guess I don't have the time. When I was following this topic during the war, I saw that there were reports from both India and Pakistan that were covering the battles which were being done by both sides. I will not get into details of which media outlets were portraying these battles, but there was like one example that there was a news story that showed that Indian Navy had attacked Karachi, which was used by these medias to sort of play on the psychological aspect of the Pakistani side, which later on it turned out that this story was false, but it was being used as a tool to sort of kind of create this narrative that India was superior to Pakistan. Another example was a picture that was created by a very prominent geopolitical think tank that sort of portrayed Ajit Doval, who's the national security advisor of India, sort of threatening Asam Munir, who's the chief of staff of Pakistan, to say that if you do one more bomb, Mumbai, you'll lose Balochistan. Which at the same time, there were also reports that there were these rebellions being done in the Balochistan province of Pakistan, simultaneously as Pakistan was fighting India. And it was a very funny portrayal that they kind of created in the terms of in the shape of like Simpsons. But it also showed that how both sides, or mostly India, uses media narratives and is using AI to create a superior narrative, both in terms of politics, diplomacy, and military. In the end, we see that in this war, media used narratives to soak national and patriotic sentiment within Pakistan, which in some manner directly and indirectly increased the popularity of the Narendra Modi government, seen as a strong man and a protector of Indian national interests. The Indian government also, after the ceasefire, prompted a cross-party global campaign of Indian dignitaries touring the world explaining how Operation Sindoor was successful. And in the end, I would like to conclude that in researching war in the age of media and social media, and especially AI, as well as assessing the power of two sides, one must take into account of how both states frame victory and defeat, which means that we have to compare the both narratives of both sides to see who has a winning narrative. And in the end, I would like to conclude that the one that has a winning narrative usually wins the war. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Farzan. Thank you so much for your very valuable presentation. Any question, any comment about Mr. Farzan's presentation?
Yeah, Professor.
Okay, please.
I also thank Mr. Farzan for his very good presentation and organized presentation. My question is that what's the connection between artificial intelligence and media narrative? Because it's very it's obvious about AI role in war, but what's the connection between AI and a media narrative on both sides, India and Pakistan? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Haji Mina. I would like to also convey my thanks and my hellos to you. Well, AI in the technical sense is usually used in military warfare, but it can also be used as psychological warfare. And during times of war, I see that media, both on let's say traditional media and also digital media, use AI to create content that sort of in some way stokes national pride and also targets enemy audiences. Like, let's say, for example, during the India and Pakistan war, we would see content that portrayed the Indian military as heroes, whereas the Pakistani army would be portrayed as, I hate to say this word, as cowards. Or they would use AI to sort of create content that would, let's say, make the winning side a heroic side, whereas the other side would be, let's say, petrified, horrified, or to some extent, their plea for humanity or their plea for survival was nothing. And we saw this during the Indian-Pakistan war.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any question, any comment other than these?
I also, personally thank, Mr. Farzan, if we didn't have chance to listen to you, we would miss, some important point. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
And thank you very much. You're welcome.
Now we have come to end of the session. I would like to sincerely thank all our speakers for their valuable presentations and for the depth analysis they have brought to this vital subject, logistics in modern warfare. Today's discussion, we have once again reminded us that logistics is not technical function, but a strategic enabler one that determines endurance, mobility, and ultimately success of the battlefield. I also thank organizers, our audience, for your patience and for your contributions, participations, and questions, which have enriched these sessions. Thank you all once again, and I wish you continued success in the remaining sessions of the conference. Thank you so much.